we are maybe already live
Hello.
with Sybil and Aglae, but let's see. Hello there. I can record you now to say hi. Hi. If the world is watching, hi. You are on. Hi. Yeah, live. Cool. Oh, microphone? Yeah.
Yeah, it's here.
It's on, so everything's cool.
Hello. Hi. Shall I start? So, hi. My name is Aglae. Little introduction about me. I'm French originally. I moved to North Wales about 10 years ago, and I studied here in North Wales in Bangor University. I met Liam actually in the university through a common friend, and I joined the Astral Ship. Yes, joined the Astral Ship in 2017. But I'm not here to talk about the Astral Ship. I'm here to talk about Tyddyn, which is my current project and where I live right now with Liam. So in 2019, after 2 years working and living in the Astral Ship, I moved to the farm in which we used to buy our vegetables. We still buy our vegetables from there. Now we've got a little baba with Liam, and here we go. So I'm just coming to talk to you about what we do in our farm and where we live, really. So Tyddyn in Welsh, Tyddyn means fair farm. So Teg is fair and Tyddyn is a farm. The three words that we've got under Tyddyn on our websites is people, food, land, and I wrote food, land, people because I think actually there's not a priority with these words. Like it just always comes with these three words, and they're equal to us, and we say them whichever way we want to say them. So yeah, food, land, people, food, land, all of the combinations. So Tyddyn is like about 15 minutes away from the Astral Ship in your car, a bit more down the hill. So the weather there is a tiny bit better than here. It's a bit less windy. We've got it's a bit more sheltered, and we get a bit less big storms. Although when the storm season starts in North Wales, it hits pretty much everywhere. We grow. Our main activity is to grow vegetables. So we grow vegetables organically in a regenerative manner, as we say today. We actually are not allowed to use the term organic or organically because we're not labeled organic, but what it means is that we're not using any chemicals or anything that's not natural for our vegetables to grow. All of our techniques are natural, and everything that we use is natural. So the farm has been running for many, many years. I think before the co-op took it over, it was maybe for 20 years run by just a family and a couple. But that old couple were starting to get old and needed to retire. And for them, it was quite a big space as well, so they were not doing at capacity. We're still not doing at capacity, but there's many, many more people than two, and we still have a lot of potential with the place. So we took it over, the co-op took it over in 2015, and that's really thanks to one member that's still with us today called Franklin and his family. So he borrowed money from his family trust to be able to buy the farm, and that's how it started. If they hadn't been able to buy the farm off the couple retiring at that time, we would not be where we are today. But from the moment Franklin bought the farm, he was really, really sure that he wanted it to be a common project with other people, and he wanted it to be a cooperative. So he kind of worked very hard from 2015 till we actually officially became a co-op in 2020. So in these 5 years, he worked very, very hard to make sure that he was passing on the power from himself to the whole community, because he didn't want to be in a position of bigger ownership compared to anyone else living on the project and looking after the project. So the farm, there's 11 of us right now, 11 members. Within these 11 members, we've got 2 builders, we've got 1 baker, so it's Franklin, he's baking, he's not really doing much farming anymore. And we've got, I put 1.5 admin person, because I was the main admin person, and Lucy was doing mainly farming last year. But since I went off on maternity leave, she's taken on quite a lot of admin, and now she's not completely let go of all of it. So there's kind of, between the 2 of us, we're doing an admin job, and I think it's like 1.5 person's job in total, really. It's quite a big job to do all of the admin when you're having a big organization like that. So we are a working co-op, but we also are a living co-op. All of these 11 members live on site, so we're all living together. And one of the things I'd like to finish up the introduction with, that I will go further into it a bit later, is that we make our decision with consensus. So that's one of the main way we're working, is by consensus. For everyone to agree on one thing, we discuss it. If we have something that someone is very strongly opposed to, it won't go through, because it has to be everyone agreeing to the decision that we're making. So there's different systems for this to work, because as you can imagine, for 11 people to agree exactly on everything that needs to do on an everyday management, if it was just that, it would not work. Like, no one would ever agree, and we would never make any decisions that would go anywhere. So that's why I'll go a bit deeper in what that all means. So today, I'd like to really talk about the food, land, and people. I'm going to take them one by one and explain to you what it means for Tyddyn, what it means for me, how it works, how we make it all work together. So I'm going to start with the land. So land, our land is about, if I find the pen that works, our land is about, I get that right, I never get it right. The land is about 30 acres in total. And what we're farming is about, some people say 4, 5 acres, some people say 10, but I don't think we get all the way to 10 acres yet. So I think we've got about 5 acres of farming, of land that we actually are farming. Within this land that we're farming, we've got 4 main bits. So we've got the home field, we've got the crop fields, we've got polytunnels. So you can see on that picture behind, we've got 5 very beautiful polytunnels. And we've got the nursery, which is the one in the middle. And it's a polytunnel that is very specific it does something very specific. We can't really compare it to the other polytunnels. So the home fields is the fields, so on that picture again, you can see the farmhouse, the polytunnels, and the fields that you see on the picture is called the home fields. Then we've got the crop fields that are further away from the farmhouse and from the polytunnels. And the nursery, as I said, is part of the polytunnels. The home fields is closer. One of the reasons why is because we're putting all of our fruiting crops into the home field, which means all of the crops that need harvesting very regularly. So it's closer. We don't have to go very far in the fields. Like that would be the crop fields, where we've got potato harvest. We might need that 1, 2, or 3 days where we do a big potato harvest, but that happens once in a year or twice in a year, that like we can go there with the big trucks and the tractors, and that's why we put the geography of the farm like this, really, because things that we need to harvest more often need to be closer to us. The polytunnels are mainly working. The polytunnels are working. So we're having quite a lot of summer crops in there. In the summer, that allows us to have a very big production of aubergines, courgettes, and tomatoes, which is not that easy to grow in this part of the world, but because it's not heated polytunnels, we are not using like energy to try and get them going. So in the winter, they're a lot slower, but we're still managing to do quite a lot of greens in them. We do things like mouli, I don't know if you know about it. It's like crops that need a bit warmer weather, not necessarily, where we can also have more control over the wetness of it, because we live in a very wet country. But the soil in the polytunnels is much easier to like keep on top of and decide how much wetness we put into it. And then the nursery, we've got about 50% of our plants that we start growing from the nursery. The other 50% would probably be the crop fields, and that we plant directly in the soil. The reason why is because, so the crop fields will be like, as I said earlier, like roots and potatoes and things like that. So if you start growing it in a pot and try to put it in the field afterwards, you're actually breaking the roots, so they're not gonna like it. While all of the fruit and crops, they will not mind, they actually prefer having like quite a nice cocooned little root base and then expanding when their roots are very strong. So in the nursery, it's all of the little fruit crops mainly, and like all of the spinach and all of these like that we're gonna plant from there. The nursery is the only place where we've got heated tables, so it's not the whole tunnel that's heated, but we've got tables that we can warm up, so all of the small babies can like keep warm in the winter, and we do get quite cold weather and frost, you know, so we can also cover them up with a fleece. And equally, when it gets very hot in June, July, it gets very hot in the polytunnels, can go up to 40 degrees. Last summer it was mad in Wales and it went up to 50 degrees, but you can actually cover them, the whole tunnel can be covered with a fleece to like get the heat a bit like down as well. We've got fans to like get air moving in there when things get hot as well.
You've also got an incubation chamber?
Yeah, I was going to say that. In the nursery, we've got an incubation chamber. So that's a new thing that we've added in there. And it's kind of experimented. We built it ourselves with some water, some building material that was left inside. But it kind of seems to be working. So yeah, it's more at the stage of experiment at the moment, but we are using it to germinate some of our plants, and it seems to be saving the plants that would maybe not have made it. So we're hoping that we might be able to create, produce a bit more next year thanks to that germination chamber. So yeah, that's the nursery. And then, I think I've talked about all of the... So on these lands, we have woodland, quite a lot. We have quite a bit of also like kind of wetlands, so it's not really, what's the term? It's like bogs kind of things, like very, yeah, you can't really walk on there but we kind of keep it like that. Yeah, you're sinking. But you kind of keep it like that because it's quite good for wildlife, actually. And when you walk around the farm, there's got a few paths and things. And if you kind of go from this farm to the next farm, you can kind of see that the Tyddyn is kind of like a wildlife little harvest, because all of the other farms have chopped down their trees, are keeping their grass very short. They've got quite a lot of grazing around as well, like sheep. But so wildlife doesn't really proliferate in this kind of environment, and pollinators don't proliferate this much as either. But we've got quite a lot of flowers, and we sometimes trim the grass, but not too often, because we actually want to keep the wildlife and the pollinators happy. So we've got woodland, bogland. We've got the farmhouse where Franklin lives. We've got the caravan field, which is a little field where we've got about 7 or 8 caravans, and that's where the members live. So we don't live in hard houses. We all have like a little static caravan or a moving caravan, or like Jamie's got a very tiny house that he built himself, but that's at the moment that's what we do. We're all on wheels, and we don't have planning permission, so.
Also, but like with the wheels, it's like gray zone or okay?
Yeah, I think it's okay. We've got quite a few, as I was saying, there's quite a lot of paths. Quite a few of these paths on our land are public paths, so we're trying to, because it was quite hard to go through them, so we're trying to make sure we keep these paths open for the local community to be able to come and walk, because it's not just our land, it's everyone's land. We need to work with that land, but we don't consider it as being our property, really. We've got the oaks, so that's like one little bit of woodland. In the middle of the woodlands, we've got like these very beautiful oak trees, and it's kind of a more meditative space that you can go to and like sit down, relax, have a look around, feel quite nice and away from the 11 other members sometimes, unless they all want to come there at the same time as you. And then we've got the farm shop, so obviously we sell our products, and so we do have we have a farm shop, and we've got a scheme, and people come to the farm to get their vegetables from us. We also do deliveries, but we mainly sell the vegetables from people coming in there. So the next point that I'm going to talk about is probably with a pen. The food. And the food is basically one of our big words, although they're all quite big words. So we grow food for about. Sorry.
Oh, one question, like what's the radius, or how far do you deliver? Is it just like the local region or the whole of Wales, or?
Oh no, for the people that we come to our shop.
Yeah, no. If somebody wants to subscribe to the
scheme, no, it's not like pretty local.
Yeah.
Region.
So how far does it?
So
approximately.
In miles, I wouldn't be too good at telling you about like we
Bangor?
go all the way. Yeah, for sure.
Bangor,
We go Bangor, Anglesey, and on the other side we go Bethesda, and then we used to go to Porthmadog, but now it's a bit too far, so a bit higher up than this one, about 10 miles around, something like that.
Okay. Cool.
So we grow food for about 200 families. So that number, I make it because we've got about 160 families on our scheme, but then we've got our farm shop, and that number is a much more variable. When I say 200, it might be in summer. There were days that we made much more money than ever before. So we're sure a lot more people came through. We also just put new signs in, and suddenly people saw a sign and just followed it. It was quite extraordinary. But so, like when it's very deep winter, I don't think many other families than the scheme members come, because you have to go through like the mud and it's the storms, and people just won't bother as much. So I think my number is about 200 families all year around. We're aiming to actually have more people on our scheme. We made plans to have more people on our scheme, but we also have more people using the shop that we've planned to when we've opened up the shop, and we made it bigger last year, and it went quite a lot better than what we were expecting. So we're doing all right on that side. the food that we grow, as I kind of said a bit earlier, we do summer crops like tomatoes, cucumbers. We have quite a lot of spinach all year round, kale. For the other winter crops, we might have like purple sprouting broccoli, cauliflowers, cabbages, quite a lot of roots. So we've just literally had our potato and onion and carrot harvest. So we try to have like onions and potatoes are always on the scheme. For example, we always try to make sure we've got the basics, and then we have some experiments of things that we can grow easily that customer might not know but might adopt from us, like mouli. It's a Japanese type little radish. And then there's other things that, well, we try to grow but customers won't adopt at all. But you know, like we try, we like have, every year we have new things. On the food side of things, I think one of the things that we really do want to make sure we do is to try our own food. And so because of that, we cook lunch for everyone, all of the members, every day of the week. And we have, most of the time, we have one dinner a week as well. So it's not just, it is obviously for the community as well. When people are working, if they have a lunch cooked for them, they don't have to think about that, so it helps the functioning of the whole farm. But we always use our own products for the lunches that we make. And I think it's a way for us to also keep on top of the quality of what we sell. For example, the other day I actually was cooking with runner beans, that we just had been, and if we don't try it, you can't see that the runner beans are going stringy and bad. It's like when they're going a bit harder. If you're not cooking with them, you actually don't know that you're selling a bad product. So you have to keep on top of it like that. And also, I think when we've been talking about food with people who are parts of the community, it's always been that somehow they're obsessed with it. So I'm French by nature and culture. Food is a very important side of my life. Like we like food, we want to eat nice food, we talk about like recipes all the time in our culture. And actually it's the case for most of the people, well, all of the people involved in the farm. They actually want to have nice ingredients, not things that you can just find in the supermarket and that is tasteless or whatever. They really want to create meals around something that's coherent for them, and they like the taste of it. They really want to eat nice stuff. So we also organize, in the same kind of spirit, we organize food events. So we've got meals where we invite other people. Sorry, my baby's crying. It's very hard to focus. We organize some food events, and we organize meals for the community. And I'll go a bit deeper into that later as well and explain the context on which we do that. But we do also find it important to share that food that we grow, also in its cooked form, because it also inspires some customers that, like, as I said, we sometimes have some random piece of vegetables in there that they might not know, and giving them an example on how we cook it might be very inspiring for them. So we try to share that on our social media as well. When we cook a nice meal, we take a picture, we share it, and all of that kind of things. So food. On Instagram, yeah, with Facebook, Instagram. That's the two main ones we do. Then the last bit of things that I was going to talk to you about was the people. So we all, obviously, you've understood, because I said I was doing the admin earlier. I didn't go into any depth on how we farm because I'm not a farmer. I've done some harvesting and some plantings now and again, but I'm not I'm not the one to talk to. If you want to speak about specifics, I can know a few things about carbons and micronutrition, but really, really basics, like not, yeah, I'm not the right person to speak to for this. But people is one of the things that brought me to the farm. People is the thing that brought me to the astralship in the first place, and without the astralship I wouldn't have ended up in Tyddyn. So I was always drawn to community. And when I arrived in 2017, we had to build everything here. It was only Liam. When I came to the ship, it was just Liam and I for like the first month or two, and we had to build a team of people here. So I had that experience with me when I moved there. And it was very different, because here I built everything and we failed, and we started again, and we failed, and we started again. There, it was already going, like there was already some strong structure of a community going, and I joined into something that was working in functional, and I kind of escaped there in some ways. But actually, I think I fed back, because I never left here completely. I came back here to live a little bit, and now we managed to, like, I think, create communities also through these two communities, so it's very important to us that it carries on this way. So as I mentioned it before, Tyddyn is 11 members, but we also have trainees. So every year between March and October, they've only just finished, we get about, last year was 5 trainees, this year was 3, so we get a few people coming to work with us.
Why Chinese?
Why trainees?
Yeah, why trainees?
Trainees,
Oh my
like-
goodness, I understood Chinese. I'm sorry.
I said Chinese, but whatever.
And then I was like, why Chinese specifically? Okay, I'm sorry.
No, we've got some trainees, not Chinese. Sorry, mixed up accents. Anyway, so yeah, we've got some trainees coming to train. Yeah, so 6 months a year in the good season, because it's much more interesting. Winter is a bit, everyone just kind of goes back to their houses to resource a little bit of winter. We still do some work. We have some other winter crops and things like that, but and we still have the shop going, but it's a lot slower. So we have them for the very big season, and it's very important to us to give that knowledge as well that we've got, and that one of the very difficult things that we find on year to year is that when they arrive in March, we start knowing them very well. They become part of the community, and it's very hard to say goodbye. But we don't have the funds to, hire everyone, or like they can't all become members. It's impossible. But this year particularly was very come to the end of it, and you're like, oh, well, sorry, you're leaving, and they're quite like, oh, well, I don't want to leave. But I think it's part of it, and we're quite proud as well that we can, they'll go with their knowledge now. That the ones that we had this year, they're looking at other lands to start something together.
Oh,
so it's
wow.
actually quite nice.
Is there already, or maybe did some people actually start their own farm, or they're looking into it, so that you have like maybe some people who come to the farm to live and
so
work
we
a little
have
bit, and then they start their own thing?
We have one of the founder members have left with his wife. They've left last year, I think, or the year before, and they started their own farm in South Wales.
Is it also in Wales?
Huh?
Did they start it in Wales?
Yeah, in south,
Aha, okay,
in the
awesome.
south of Wales, though, so it's quite far from
Alright.
here. But yeah, they've gone to do their own little project there, and we're still in contact with them, because that's like one of my points as well. Well, just going there. So the farm itself is also connected to other farms. So the farming in Wales and in the UK, we're part of Land Workers Alliance. So that traineeship program, there's more farms in Wales that are running it, and we have some trainee weekends and things like that, so people meet up with each other, and we've met Jono's trainee this year. She came to our farm. Our trainees went to Jono's farm. So we still keep a good relationship and good contact with these people. There's still a whole hub of like knowledge that we can share with each other. Sometimes materials, sometimes people. You know, we keep that quite active because it's important not to be isolated in these kind of projects, because it can be very difficult and draining and technical as well sometimes. So I think having as much, it's a bit like coding. If you have a big community that can support you and you can ask questions, you can just kind of exchange and solve your problems in a more efficient way. So that's the people side. I'm going to talk to you about our governance, because I was mentioning that we were making decisions with consensus. And consensus, as I said earlier, it wouldn't work if we didn't have quite strong systems to put in place. So rather than having for each group meeting, like imagine if we have the 11 members coming into a meeting, we're not going to have every single issues that came up in the 1 month in that meeting. So one of the things that we do to start with is that we, for example, for the very basic stuff, we've got rotas. Like that's our starting point. You know, if you're going to be doing lunch on one day of the week, you put your name down on the Monday. On the Monday morning, everyone has a little Monday morning meeting, when you just say what lunch you're going to be doing, what dishes you're going to be doing, what cleaning you're going to be doing, if you're going to do the bins. That's our everyday functioning thing that we sort out every Monday, and that's done. No one has to ask questions about it.
So is this like planning? So you have all this work that needs to be done, and then everybody just assigns themselves?
We know we have to take the bins out. We know that we're cooking lunch and having to do the washing up every day, and we know that I don't know what else is on there. We know that we have to feed the chickens every week. We know that someone has to look after the shop every day. So and someone has to be responsible to do this kind of stuff on the weekend.
So you don't have like a manager who selects who will be doing,
we volunteer.
Yeah,
because it's.
So sometimes you feel very social and you want to be in the shop maybe, and some other.
The shop is self-service, so you're not in. But sometimes you feel really social or really motivated, and you know you can cook for everyone. And sometimes, since I've been a mother, I used to cook all the time. Now, since I've been a mother, I've not got time for cooking, so I do other little things. And you put your name down, and it's just trust. Like, the rota is there, it's the same every week, and we're trusting people to put their name down. And if someone doesn't put their name down for a long time, we let them off for a while. And if it really becomes a problem, maybe we go to talk to them about it.
Is this a plan, something visible that is like every day visible to everyone?
It's a whiteboard.
So that it's very noticeable if somebody's name is missing.
It's a whiteboard in our main barn that you can go and check on. You know that and also for yourself, like if you put your name down for cleaning up on Thursday and then you forgot about it because you said that on Monday, and it comes to Thursday, you're like, shit, it's me.
Do you also then on the whiteboard cross off when you did it, or something like that?
Not for that one, no. No, because we know that we do it, and then there's flexibility. Like every system's there's flexibility. So, if for example you come to the Thursday, you're ill or you've got something that you hadn't planned, you can ask to the rest of the community, could someone take my shift? And most of the time it works well because there's that fluidity. And you can see that the dishes have been done or not been done, so you don't need, or that the meal is being served or not being served, It happened only a few times where you kind of walk in the kitchen and it's like 12 or 12:30 and you're like, oh, no one's on lunch, probably they've forgotten that they're meant to be cooking, but it really doesn't happen much. It really is self-working. So that's our day-to-day kind of management. Then there's the buddy system. So we've got a buddy each. Within the 11 members we have one person, so three of them are buddying the three of them, but usually it's just a 2 and 2 where you meet once a month or as many times as you want to meet, really, and you discuss absolutely anything you want to discuss. It is like the buddy is there to just listen to whatever wind you want to put in, whatever emotional issues you've got, whatever work issues you've got, like it's just really a person who's here to listen to you. And if they want to help you because you've got too much work on and you need some help, they can be the person in the middle contact. If they want to help you because you've got too much work on, but you have to do it all on your own, but you need to organize yourself. They you discuss with your buddy, like, could you help me doing like a plan? I need a plan or something like that. And your buddy is here to help you. And then you do the same to your buddy. That's like a one-to-one thing that you reverse.
How did this came to existence? Like, how did you? Because it reminds me a little bit of a friend who is working as a psychologist, and she said that they also have like their own sessions so that they can clean or.
Yeah. So it came up because when you work in a group and live in a group, and you kind of realize after a long time that even if you have all of these systems in place, you might miss out on things on your personal check-in. So we've put it up so we made sure that it's sometimes very hard to sit down in front of 11 people and be like, actually, I've got this thing on my mind and it's been bothering me. While if it's one person, it's a much easier thing to do. And then you can actually have it there. It's part of the group. It can become part of the group conversation. It's kind of one of the processes that helps you to deliver without having to feel like that you've got all of the other 10 members looking at you.
And also, it feels like maybe it's like you don't have to think and play some. Politics doesn't start happening because like, oh, whom can I trust and all this. No, you're just assigned a buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And the way we did the buddy system also is by picking a name in a hat. So we didn't decide who we were going to go with, and so
it can happen that you have twice the same buddy.
Yeah. So you have at the moment we might change buddy at the end of the year, but once you've picked a buddy, it stays your buddy for a while. And then you can change.
So it's not a weekly thing?
No, the buddy system is for, like you check in whenever you want to check in with that buddy.
Sweet.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be every week. My buddy and I, we meet every month and we forget some months. Most of the time we either play ping pong or do something else at the same time. That's how we deal with it. But some others have very regular meetings. Some of them cook cakes. I don't know. It's quite fun to have a buddy. And then on like the kind of a bit higher up than this, we've got working groups. So that's much more structural and much more without the buddies, the farm could still work. Without the working groups, the farm cannot function. So it's basically things like, I told you we've got like all of the farmers, the home field, the crop field, the polytunnels. So you've got the like growers group, for example. So they have to communicate with each other. The nursery, the person who's in charge of the nursery needs to know when her crops needs to go out for the home fields and things like that. So they have to have close contact and conversations regularly with each other. We've got the admin group, which I'm part of, and same we sometimes have to, talk to each other about things, and I have to. We've got more than me and Lucy in the admin group actually, because we also have finances in with that and things like that. So yeah, you for all of the little functional bits of the farm, we separate them into groups. We've got the wood people who are like gonna talk about wood, chopping wood, and all of the things that it would be so boring if I'd come to a meeting and I'd be, so guys, I've been doing the accounts and I have to call the accountant because of this and this and that. And some people in that meeting would be like, whatever. But because you're doing it in a working group where all of the people who are in that working group decided that they were going to be part of that working group, they feel the interest into it, they can support you somehow, it's part of their role. And then if anything bigger needs to be reported to the whole 11 members, then it will come from the working group to the 11 members in our monthly meeting. And so yeah, the directors meeting happen once a month. We usually do it the second Friday of the month, because the first week we're like working out our numbers in the finance meeting, and then we can report the finances to the rest of the group. And the directors meeting will, so most of the time that's it. We'll have like a little review of what we talked about the time before. If working groups went off to do some kind of jobs by themselves, then they can come and report back about it. And then any kind of, like the two main things that we're going to talk about really are any changes to our policy. So any changes to things that keep us as a cooperative. We all agree to these policies to start with, if these need changing. So for example, one of the big example that is the most obvious one would be the COVID policies. Like, obviously we had COVID like anyone else, so we had to organize ourselves in the cooperative. That changed the way we lived, that changed the way we organized ourselves. And that would be in that kind of meeting that we'd talk about this kind of stuff, like how we organize ourselves with these changes and things like that. And our living policies as well, like, you know, there's certain rules to live all together, so we're making sure that we respect these rules. So that will be discussed in one of these kind of meetings, and also all of the like upcoming events or things that will also disturb everyone, like everyone will be concerned about something, so that will be discussed in one of these big meetings as well. So one of the things, about policies, we are a cooperative, Co-op UK have a set of rules. So for the governance, we're officially right now just following a set of rules that has been written for us, but we are in the process of changing it. So our policies are internal, they're not what the law says. If we were having like problems because the cooperative would fail right now, we've got like legal agreements in between all of the members, but the problem that we've got right now is that we can, but we haven't written them ourselves yet, because when you become a co-op, they just gave you a set rules, and we haven't taken the time, we haven't found the time to quite yet go through all of these rules and write them the way we want them. So the policies are not legal agreements, however, that's what tied us up as a co-op in the first place, and you know, that's how we work together. And I think if we didn't have the policies, just the fact that we have, so for example, we got conflict resolution policy, and I realize because we have that, a conflict very rarely goes over to somewhere that's unmanageable, because we all know what is the process for us. If someone starts having a problem with another member, we know what process we would follow in the case it would become not manageable. But most of the time, because we have that security blanket, we don't use it. We just start, like, we sort out our problem together with that person to start with. And one of the tools we use within all of these things is obviously like the meeting minutes. So with the working group minutes and the big meeting minutes, we always share with everyone. Even the woodworking group will share minutes with me, and I will know what they want to chop. And even if I don't care, it's good that I know. Like, it's good that I can care if I wanted to, if I had time for it. Going back a little bit, so that's the way we do our organization. So there's big parts on governance. But going back a little bit, if we go back to the word people, one of the things that I wanted to mention as well is a change that, it's becoming a generational cooperative. So it wasn't the case before. By that I mean we've got within our 11 members, the youngest member is probably something like 25, and the eldest is 62, 63. And we now have Sybil, who's the first baby of the whole cooperative. And Franklin, one of the conversations I had with him very recently, I'm going to quote him because I think it was something he said and it really stuck with me. And it really kind of resonates with my vision of things as well. When you're talking about sustainability, now this is the word regenerative that comes a lot into place. But for me, I really like this word sustainability because it says that it's ongoing. And when you're talking about sustainability in farming, you're kind of like, you're taking the cycles of farming. You're making sure that what you're doing to the land, like the soil is going to be preserved. You're making sure that for next season you're ready as well, that you're not kind of draining your soil out, but you're giving back as well, so you can plant again the next season. You're talking about sustainability within the food. That's pretty much that as well. It's like having a relationship between yourself and the food you're eating, and making sure that you're not abusing of the food, that you're not just stuffing your face with it, so that you're just like refusing it. You're just kind of, eating it because you know that it's good resource for you. And when you're talking sustainability with the people, if you're like having a sustainable farm, but you're growing like, I don't know, you're actually having polytunnels that are heated, where you're growing labeled organic tomatoes all year around in the Western countries. That means you're heating your polytunnels up, using loads of energy, and actually the soil is not really renewing itself because you're growing always the same crop. And
Did you say polyphenols?
Polytunnels.
Polytunnels. What's a
Yeah,
polytunnel?
it's like hot.
Like plastic?
Yeah, that's like what you saw in the picture to start with. Yeah, so if you were just doing that, like even though you're organic, it doesn't mean you're sustainable. To be sustainable, you have to make sure you're giving back. And when you're doing that in farming, you have to think about it in a very long term. And for Franklin, he was mentioning to me, if you can't actually have a farm in which the community you're having can be in there at each moment of its life, whether they're retiring, whether they're like finishing to study, whether they're coming here just before they study, whether they're teenagers or babies, or like families, like a young couple that are just settling in together. If your farm cannot offer that, it's not going to be sustainable for the very simple reason that once you like grow old, even if your farm you've been like doing it for 30 years and you've done it very, very nicely, when you grow old and die, and if your kids don't want to take over, your farm is just going to go to something else. So that's not sustainability in itself. So what we are trying to do, and obviously, 2015 is like just yesterday, really, in that kind of grand scheme of things. We only have one BB in the farm, and I'm not even sure Liam and I will want to be in there for the rest of our life. It's not how it works. But when we're trying to put that vision forward, for us, sustainability means accessibility for a community on a sustainable terms. So the farm cannot just from one day to the other become, I don't know, like a cinema, or like can't be sold to someone who wants to do this. So we have to make sure that we keep that going through within our community, but also within the wider community. Because that, thanks to the wider community, that we're going to keep that sustainability going as well. So one of the things that we're doing for the wider community, we're having some events, open days, apple days, equinox parties, loads of little things like that. So we're having the shop, but we're thinking about, we're going to open a community share offer, which means that we're going to be selling some shares to the wider community. Shares of the farm.
Oh, okay.
So it's a so again, this is a very new project. It's not really started yet. We've only started a conversation with the wider community about it. But one of the reasons we want to do it is because if more than 11 members have some kind of sense of ownership about that land, then the land is not just ours. As I said earlier, the land is also the community's, and they can decide what's going on with it next, like what's the next step for the land. So we want to make sure that it's in the community's best interest as well as ours. Obviously ours first, because we can't let the community decide exactly what to do with all of our everyday land, but we want to make sure we have that with them. Our community share offer, we're thinking about doing it in a certain way actually, because we want to do something where we'd have also a charity fund. So people can buy some shares. People can buy some shares from us, and that will help the farm and the cooperative, because we've just bought the farm, but obviously we're still in debt. So for us to sell some bits of the farm will help us to pay for the farm, if that makes sense. Charity fund. One of the way we would like to do this is to create a community charity fund, and the interest of that share offer, like for example, that's just for the sake of the argument, but for example, if we put a minimum £500 for the share, so if you want to buy a share, it has to be like minimum £500 you're putting into it, and you're putting £500 of your money on a 3% interest. That interest might not come back to you, but might go directly to the community charity fund. And that community charity fund will do things for the close community. So if you're local and you want to see all of the, I was talking about the paths, or we also do things like we've got local school visiting the farm sometimes, but that's on our time. We're like, most of the time they don't have a budget for us. Sometimes they do, but not all the time. There's quite a few people who would like to be on the scheme but who can't afford it, for example. So all of that community charity funds that the first 5%, 3% of your 500 quid would go to, would help us to support that. So that money would kind of come back to us in some ways, but that would allow the community around Southern Teg to keep growing and have some resources. There's also, within that charity funds, I was talking about meals earlier, that we offer meals to the wider community. So we've got one coming up next weekend on Saturday, and it's a charity meal, and all of the profits that we're going to do is going to go to the Palestinian olive tree planting season. So every year in October in Palestine, they're planting olive trees. However, because of the context, they quite often get gassed and not managed to plant their own trees while trying to do this. So one of the way for them to be able to do that is to have quite a strong international community coming to help them, because then it kind of diffuses all violence that could be arising around the whole thing. And with the international community, you need more organization, so you need more funds. And we've got a member, Alice, who lived in Palestine for 10 years, so it comes from her. But the funds that we're going to be raising with this mill is going to help the community in Palestine to plant their olive trees. We did one last month, it was in June, not still last month, time is flying. We did one last June for the Kenyan peasants community, because there's this horrible situation in Kenya where women are really, there's loads of backward situations, but women who are being victims of abuse or who lose their husbands, they're actually disowned, so they don't have a home, they don't have their land anymore. If they were part of a farm before, they can't feed themselves. So they're kind of building a strong women community in Kenya right now, where they kind of do cooperatives just for women and children who are in that situation when they need to be able to grow their own food. So we got funds for them last meal, and so we want to have a charity fund that goes to the close Southern Teg community, but we also want to make sure that all of the sustainable farming of the world is recognised within us. I said we have still strong connections with farms down in South Wales. We're part of a wider network of farming. Like, farming sustainably these days is something that we have to do together. And I'd like to actually finish my talk on this is farming for a very long time was something that people, and still mainly, is something that people do very lonely. Like they kind of go on and work very, very long days, very, very hard days to work the soil, to get their livestock to go, like, you know, do what they, and there's a lot of depression, there's a lot of loneliness in that job if you're not doing it in a way where you're going to be close to your livestock, you're going to be close to your chickens, you're going to be close to your environment and close to the people around you. And the way that we're trying to do Tyddyn is to be able to not have like the traditional farming life when you can't go on holiday and all of that kind of stuff, but we actually have weekends and we can, you know, have fun sometimes, and I'm not working on a Monday and everything is fine. So yeah, that's also sustainability for us. And that's really much people, and that's what's close to my heart, really, to make sure the community is fine. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions. So I don't know how long I spoke for. I hope I didn't bore you too much.
No, it was very interesting. I didn't expect that. It's like it looks really fun. And you said next Saturday there will be like a
This coming Saturday, yes.
this coming Saturday. How far is it from here?
It's 15 minutes in the car.
All right.
There's tickets online, so it's I can't remember. I think it's £24 for a drink and
Yeah.
a meal. And
Maybe we can even see if we find a time, we can check it out.
yeah, I can send the Eventbrite link to you. You can book.
Yeah, we have to see if we don't have some online talks booked. But yeah, no, this is super inspiring. I was thinking now, the last thing that you said, this connection to other communities and like loneliness and I was just thinking, like, I come from Slovenia, and there is like a lot of, in my village, like a lot of not a lot, a couple of farmers left, but it's exactly this kind of, most of the people left, they are there alone, somehow isolated mainly. So I'm thinking, like, this would be so cool to, like, here you you took over the old farm, but yeah, how to preserve farms from dying and then having to go and rebuild everything from scratch instead of saving it now that it's still there by, I don't know, sharing the know-how or something with the people to be able to organize like this. Because what you explained is like a very well thought through structure that obviously works for a couple of years already. And
Yeah, but not even quite a few years.
how to capture this knowledge and share it with others. I mean, you said that you don't have these things written down?
Yeah, we do. We have policies written down, minutes written down. Yeah, I think it's actually the start of, like, we write down things that we need to agree on, so we make sure we've got documents to show.
Is this publicly available? Is it like open source?
I mean, our rules are publicly available by law. Our policies, not quite, because they're not like they're for our own functioning. But we can share if you ask. Like we meet with other farmers, and we've been sharing these with other people who started.
But this is like manual. Is there anything for that kind of organizations to have like some sort of database of knowledge?
So, as in for consensus decision making, one of the things I didn't mention, we have a workshop every year, and the people who come to do that, there's quite a few people, facilitators who do facilitation in like communication, non-violent communication or other type of communication and consensus decision making. And these people have a whole set of things. If you're looking into consensus decision making, they will have a whole set of tools that they share every time. And yeah, you can have that. And then you kind of build with your own community and your needs. You kind of adapt their tools to what you need. But yeah, that's actually a very crucial point I forgot to mention. One of the ways we keep on track with each other as well is once a year we have a workshop to make sure we keep agreeing.
With this broader community?
No, with our community. And with the broader community, at the moment we're not, apart from the events we organize, we haven't got, for example, we've not got a board person that's from the broader community quite yet. But with the community share offer, it might be a requirement. It depends how we write it down. And it might be for the best, actually, because that means we'd have someone from the broader community that comes in to represent the wider community within Tech. And we think that could be good for us.
Is there like an online space where all, like anyone who is interested in starting their own co-op or something?
So you've got the land, as I mentioned, the Landworkers Alliance is like a union of farmers, sustainable farming, and they come to I think it's millet time, people. Yeah, the Landworkers Alliance is like organise quite a lot of farmers meetings and things like that to
Alex
share, like,
just opened it here.
Yeah.
Behind. Interesting. What about, I mean, you probably know about these decentralized autonomous organizations on blockchain and stuff like that.
A little bit.
And kind of now we had like one talk about worker cooperatives and DAOs and how can this...
Sorry.
How can this be, I mean, is there like something that the cooperatives can benefit from this kind of tooling, and is it worth transitioning to that?
So it depends who you're talking to in the farming world. In the farming world, like quite a lot of the farming world is a bit cold feet about technology. Like I go back to the whiteboard when I talk, because having a screen is difficult for me. Obviously, Liam is part of our community. He speaks to people in there quite a lot. When we had an Arduino workshop here with Mitch Altman, quite a few of the farmers came down to like check it out. And Jono, who left, was quite into using new technology within the farming system, and that kind of tools, decentralized tools, came up in conversations. I think Landworkers Alliance might have some of that kind of stuff going on in their workshops and things sometimes as well. I think it's not quite mainstream yet. It's still kind of things that could merge, but there's definitely potential for more.
I have also one question. You earlier mentioned the thing with the shares, that the community could also get some shares.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, is there like a system?
So it's not. So we're not written the share offer yet. So I can't go in depth of how we do it quite yet, because it's only suggestions. But what you have to know, it's not like a share. It's not like it's community share offer is very different to shares that you'd have on a normal company. So we're not selling a physical part of the farm.
Yeah.
We're selling just shares that are, so £1 is one share in the acceptance of it. And if you want to buy shares, we'll put some links up when it's done, like when we have the offer written down. We're probably going to go on some platforms to do it, like fundraising platforms for farmers and sustainable farmers. And we'll give it to our customers and put something on in our shop about it as well.
Sounds cool. Because maybe also, like, I don't know if there's already platforms that do it exactly the way you imagine it, or...
So I know there's some community, like green farming platforms where you can do share offers. They already do exist. We've got we've got someone who's going to come to talk to us about share offer next week or the week after.
Oh, so very soon.
Yeah. He's going to explain to us how it works, because we're not...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you know the name of the organization?
The guy who's coming to talk to us is called Dave Boyle.
All right.
But I don't know if...
Is he representing a certain organization, or he's...
I'll have to research that.
All right. I mean...
Jonathan, I mean, he's incredible. He's always like sketching when we have a talk. So this is a sketch of yours.
Oh, it actually is really
We're on
nice.
the farm now.
Isn't it cute?
It is very cute.
Wait, I'll show it here.
Yeah, we can tweet that with the link to the live stream.
So yeah, we'll send it to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
You two, any questions? No, I mean you explain it so in details that is just like inspiration. I also don't even know what else would I even ask.
It's very moving.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Thank
I mean,
you
it's
very
really
much
really
for
awesome.
having me, and yeah, sorry if I spoke for too long.
No, it's awesome. Thank you. Thank you.